everybody, it's Kelly from Let's Get Clacking, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you one of my favorite features of the Silhouette Cameo. This feature is the print and cut feature. So essentially what it means is you design something on your computer, you load it onto your mat into the Cameo, and the Cameo then scans the registration marks and it'll automatically cut out the things that you've printed. By using the print and cut, you can do amazing things such as designing labels for your products. And this is exactly what I'm going to do today. I've got a couple new products that I'm going to be sending out to a few clients as testers, and I really want to add new labels to them. So in this tutorial, I will be using the Snippy Sisters matte printable vinyl for inkjet printers. I've actually been using this for a really long time. It is the best printable vinyl that I've used. It's nice and thick, it's water resistant, it's vinyl, it's got a beautiful soft feel to it, and it cuts like a dream. I'll leave the link to the product down in the description if you want to get your hands on some of it. Well, without further ado, let's get clacking!
As always, our journey starts in Silhouette Studio. You first need to make sure that our page size is correct and that our cutting mat is correct. So this is on 12 by 12, so we just need to change it to A4, as we're going to be printing on an A4 sticker sheet. And we're going to be obviously printing on the Cameo mat, so I'm going to leave that there. And I want to make sure that the cut border is enabled so that I can see where to fit my designs onto the page. So then we go to the registration marks tab, which is the third tab at the top. And here's where we enable our registration marks. First we select the style, and the style will depend on what kind of a machine we have. So you can either have the Cameo, Portrait or Curio, or you can have the original or SD. So we're going to be using the Cameo, so we're going to select the Cameo registration marks. And under the dimensions is where we get to start to play with the different marks on the page. So we have the length. So the length shows how far those go out to the side. We can make that a lot smaller, but that leaves a lot more room for error. So I prefer to keep mine on the standard 2 centimeters. Then we also have the thickness of the registration marks. This is another place where I like to have it a little bit thicker. I like to make sure that they're definitely going to be picked up correctly. So I like to make that at a thickness of 1. The last section that I want to play with is the inset. The inset is generally what I set down to make sure that we have a little bit more room for designs, because if it's at the standard, the default setting, there's a lot of empty wasted space on the side. If you put it down, it doesn't really make it trickier for the Cameo to detect, especially because we've set the thickness up. So we want to make sure those two kind of compensate for each other. You can then invert it as well, but I just normally leave it on the standard default. Now that that's all set up, we can start playing with our designs. So I'm going to start with my labels. I'm going to pull in my logo and resize it to what I need it to be. Because I'm pulling in an image, I need to make sure that I'm tracing it and creating a cut line. So I need to go to the trace panel, select trace area. I then move this gray block so that it completely covers the image that I needed to trace, and I release. I'm just zooming in so we can see the design. What we want to do is we want to play with the thresholds to make sure that we've got every element of the design color in. So we can either make it very low, and as you see, then more and more of these pixels disappear, or we can push it up and it'll then capture every pixel. It doesn't matter for this purpose because we just need to trace the outside line. So whereas I would normally click trace if I'm doing a print and cut like I did for this t-shirt, I'm going to just click trace outer edge. So what this has done is it's created a cut line around the outside of the circle, and we can see in the send panel that there is just a circle there, just a red cut line. Then next I'm going to start with the tags for my jars. I like to use little jars like this, as you can see, for some of my glitters, and I need to make sure that I'm getting the right sizing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a square or a rectangle and then just change the size to what I need it to be. And as I don't like to waste space on my page, I'm going to make sure that I add as many of these as I can for the top of my jars. Let's group them, and I'm going to click Control right to create a duplicate, and I'm just going to keep doing that until I have enough in the row. I like to also evenly space them out just to make sure that the cut lines don't always go right over each other. So I just select them and press right twice for just 2 gaps. And that's perfect. So now I select all of them, and I'm going to press Control down to duplicate what I have selected, moving them across, and I create one more on that side. And now I have a nice optimally spaced 2 lines of stickers for the tops of my jars. Something else that you might have noticed is that I have not put anything in the crosshatch area. If we zoom in, I've left it right next to that area. The silhouette needs that area to correctly and accurately register where your registration marks are. So although you can chance it every now and again, for me, I prefer not to, because it just means one more sticker, and what's one more sticker as opposed to an entire page full of failed prints. So when it comes to printing in those crosshatch areas, I don't chance it, I don't put anything in there, and I find that my print and cuts work pretty much flawlessly every time. And of course you want to make sure that everything stays within the red line, otherwise you won't be able to cut it with your Cameo. You will be able to obviously cut it with normal scissors or anything else. It won't register within the Cameo. If you were to put something like that as an example, in the send panel you'll see only that part is showing as a red line, which means only that part will be cut and that other part won't be. So you'll end up with half an uncut circle. Now we carry on with the rest. So I'm going to make a duplicate of that, make it smaller so that it fits into my label. Then I need to remember to turn off the cut line. So I'm actually going to ungroup this, take the image out, delete the cut line, and put the image back in. Because essentially what I want to do is I'm creating a label, and I just want the Cameo to cut around the outside of the label. Make it a little bit smaller. Now I go to the text tool, and I'm going to be calling this Gold Hollow. So now I need to change the font, so I'm going to highlight all the text, go to the font panel, and it's actually under one of the recently used fonts, so I'm just going to click on that, and I'm going to resize it. So I'm going to highlight all of them and align them to the middle. They will align them to the middle of the rectangle because that's the object that is encompassing all of them. Instead of just having plain flat writing, I like to make mine a little bit more fun, and I go to the fill panel, and I'm going to fill gradient, and I would like to use one of these. So I like to use, let's take a look at which one we want. This one. Okay, so I like that one, but I'm going to make it at a little bit of an angle, and like that. Now, sometimes with this text, you can see it nicely because we have the red cut line on the outside, but if I make that a transparent cut line, it looks nice, but it doesn't quite stand out. So what I like to do is I like to change the edge of the font to be black. And instead of having a 0 point, because that means it won't print anything because it's a 0 weight, I change that to a 0.25. We can't really notice the difference, but when we print it, it will actually show. The second thing that I need to do when creating label stickers like this is I need to remember when I go to the send panel to cut, this will actually cut that font. The red lines are on the outside of the words, which means that what the silhouette will do is the silhouette will cut around the edge and it'll cut around each of those letters. So that won't work. So now we need to highlight the letters and we click no cut. So that when we continue making more and more and more of these, we don't have to go and no cut each of them. So we do it on the first one and we can just fill up the whole page with many other labels, and we don't have to worry about, going back, retracing our steps. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to fill up the entire page, and then I'll come back to you when I'm done.
A few moments later.
Alright, so I've now loaded the media onto the mat, and you can see there's quite a gap between the edge line and where the paper starts. I've done this on purpose so that we can see what it does and what to look out for when your Cameo is busy looking for your registration marks. Okay, what you want to look for is this little section. So this is where the sensor is at the bottom, and that needs to go over here. It'll come down and then it'll go across, and once it's gone over that section, it'll move down to the bottom and it'll scan over these as well. Then it'll move up to the top and it'll scan here. So if it doesn't scan over those 3 exact spots, your cut is going to be off, which is what's going to happen now. So I want to show you what it looks like when the cut is not correct, so that we can see what it looks like when the cut is correct. Okay, so you see how it thinks that it's at the top corner, and now it thinks it's at the bottom. It's not picking up on the lines. It's picked up that one, so it knows where that one is. So I'm going to switch it off, because otherwise it's going to start cutting and then it'll cut all in all the wrong places and completely mess up my sheet. So I'm going to turn the machine back on. Going to unload the mat, and I'm going to replace it in the correct spot. Okay, so we want to place it as close to the corners as possible, and bring it all the way down. Anyway, so then we load it back into the machine, and we send it to cut again. So you can see it correctly navigating all 3 spots, so you know that it will cut properly. Another perfect example of something that went wrong. You see this here, this dislodged, and it's not sitting in the correct place. So it started cutting funny, but luckily I was watching, so I was able to stop it in time. So what we need to do, lift that up, bring that across, and you'll feel a dent. So we want to make sure that it sits in that groove, and then we need to lock it. So there's a little lock, unlock at the top and a lock at the bottom, and then we can push that back down. So let's check the damage. Okay, we lost 3 stickers, so that's not a problem. It's only 3. And the brilliant thing about print and cut is that it'll register the marks again, and it'll cut everything all over again, and we don't have to worry about anything being out of place because we've unloaded and reloaded our mat. So that's the advantage of print and cut. Right, so now it's done. We don't need to worry about checking the cut because it is a print and cut, so it'll just scan the lines again. So we can simply just unload and check the stickers at a more convenient height. Let's pull it off the mat. Cut beautifully. So I'm happy with that. So those are our stickers. Now we have everything cut, we're ready to decorate our jars. So I take one of the stickers and I put it on the top. There we go. And this is going to be the gold hollow. So I'm going to take up the gold hollow. And I like to layer things in the front. So now we can pour our gold hollow into our jar. Can we also just take a moment for these gold hollow flakes? I mean, they are just divine. So thanks very much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed watching me make the labels for my products, as well as how to use print and cut in the most optimal way. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you like my channel, please hit that subscribe button. If you want to be notified of any videos that I release in the future, hit the little notification bell. You'll be able to subscribe to my channel on this side, and on that side, you'll be able to watch my latest video, as well as down below, you'll see something that YouTube thinks that you'll enjoy. Thanks again for making it through, and please remember, be kind to someone today. See you next time.